Please do not pay attention to the video. Just concentrate on the audio. I have nothing to show you. I will eventually leave a link in the description box below. Just give me some time so that you can watch the body camera video by yourself. Anyhow, I want to talk about the Sturgeon police officer who shot and killed a small little white dog. I think it was a Shih Tzu. Let's talk about procedures. I want to give you guys a different perspective. I just watched the body camera video and I read some news reports, but I have not listened to any of the commentary. I try to avoid doing that just so that I'm not biased towards a certain decision. I'm not biased at all. Well, I mean, there's always biases, but I think it's better if I just go raw and talk about it based on what I know. So just a little bit about my background. This year, in November, will be the 26th year of my combined time in law enforcement and in private security. I have a lot to offer on this channel. I have different perspectives of things. I'm always learning as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down the incident in such a way that might be easier for other people to understand, because already you see that a police officer shot and killed a small little Shih Tzu, a small little dog. Like, why? And a lot of people don't know what the procedures are. I also want to give my thoughts are on this incident. I mean, I got mixed feelings about this one. So let's begin. First off, can police shoot? Can they shoot a dog? And the answer is yes. If the dog is a threat, a deadly threat, or a threat of great bodily injury to another person or that officer, then yes, you could certainly use lethal force to stop the canine that's attacking you. But this is a little different situation. Here we have an officer who admits that he's not scared of this small little white dog. That fear element is gone. So the next question is, can you dispatch a sick or an injured animal? Now, I'm located in California. My understanding of laws does gravitate towards California, but I think the state of Michigan has very similar criminal codes and procedures. So the question of can you dispatch, meaning can you use lethal force against an animal? The answer is yes. If that animal received some type of injury, some sickness, and they are undue suffering. In most circumstances, yes. Now, what you do have to do, now this is California, you have to make reasonable attempts to locate the owner. Now here, this dog, it looks like maybe he ended up becoming a stray. I mean, he got loose, right? I believe that the owner was in Colombia. But nevertheless, you can't put an animal out of their misery. A lot of people, they don't understand, like, you can do that. And I think that giving the police that option of putting an animal out of the misery, I think it's an option that should not be taken away. However, you got to use common sense as well. If you have a vet that's open, they're actively taking animals, okay, I think that you should go to the vet. I mean, a lot of law enforcement agencies, they require the officers to drop off this animal at a vet. Now, I'll tell you this. In the county where I'm at, it's like the community or the veterinarians don't care about animals, because out here we don't have a 24-hour emergency room for animals. Like, you cannot call a veterinarian out here in the middle of the night to dispatch an animal. It makes us as law enforcement, especially out here, very, I mean, essentially what it's demanded of us is to put a poor creature, a God creature, in a small little box or a bigger box and close your eyes and drop off this animal at the doorsteps of a veterinarian that's closed in the middle of the night. I mean, how awful is that? So the alternative, if this animal is suffering undue pain, if this animal is going to most likely die, the alternative is to dispatch that animal with a bullet, a well precision shot right over here, right in this area. I mean, this is the shoulder blade. Right here is the armpit. Right here, you'll dispatch that animal rather quickly. The argument that the that the city made, and I think eventually the officer, I could be wrong on this, was that they thought that this little Shih Tzu was rabid. It had rabies. Guys, I don't know if you understand rabies, but if you contract rabies and it's in your blood, it's taking over your body, you're not going to have the ability to drink. Like, you're going to have thirst, and then you can't drink. You're going to end up dying. So whether it's a raccoon or dog, if this animal gets you, bites you, you risk dying an extremely excruciating, painful death. So if it's me, if I'm placed in those circumstances, I would consider dispatching that animal if it displayed signs of rabies. Now here, I have a huge problem with what happened, okay? You have the officer with a, it looked like there was a pole. I've used this pole before. I forgot what it's called. Again, I'm not an animal control officer, but I work in an area that's considered rural, and there's not a lot of resources out here. But you have this dog pole or animal pole. It's a metal pole. At the end is some type of like lasso system, right? You have to turn it a certain way, and then you put it around the animal's neck, and then you just pull, and you get to, it tightens a noose on it. And that's how you're able to control the animal. But it looks like this officer was frustrated because he couldn't get it to work. So what I do in these circumstances, before I even, because I don't do it a lot, but I test out the pole to see if it would work, the mechanisms and everything of it. If this officer would have done it right, he would have been able to capture this animal in the pole. Now, the whole point, the whole argument of I thought he had rabies, that's a moot point, because look how close he gets. And then it looks like he ended up becoming frustrated that he can't capture this animal. I mean, if you really thought that the animal had rabies, why would you get that close? That doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense at all. Okay? Moving forward, he shoots 2 times, the animal's gone, and then he puts it in the trunk, in the back of the unit, and then talks to the owner, who is upset, obviously, video recording him. First, I want to say that I'm going to agree with the officer. If your pet, if your dog is not contained, if you're negligent, right? If you're not maintaining your kennel, knowing that there's a likelihood that your dog's going to escape when you're on vacation, that does put you at fault as well. Whatever happens to your animal is your responsibility. Now, unfortunately, that animal died at the hands of this police officer. I do understand that I would make an argument that even though you get an animal that shouldn't have escaped in the first place, and then you have to dispatch it, you have to show some respect. I mean, this officer clearly does not know how to talk to people. This this pet owner, for what all we know, is he lost a best friend. Now, I'm not a dog lover. I mean, I like dogs, but I don't have any. I don't have the same feeling towards animals that a lot of dog lovers have. But I understand their passion and their love for animals. I really do. But this officer gets this cute dog and then dispatches him, and he doesn't show any empathy. And I think that's the problem here. Instead of showing empathy, he starts playing the blame game, and it cuts off this this distraught person from engaging in any future conversation with him. This officer just wants to get his point across. I think he handled it very terrible. And what he ended up doing is adding insult to injury. And in the end, this turned out to be a lawsuit. I don't know if the city's going to win on this one. I mean, I could just see the plaintiff putting these huge pictures of this small little cute dog on the screen. I just don't get it. And then the city backed the officer by saying that the officer was in fear for his life because he had rabies or something to that effect. Oh, man. I just don't understand why people act this way, why officers act this way. I understand his perspective. I understand that. I mean, I think he at one point said, what do you want me to do? Or, something to the effect, what do you want to do? They're not animal control, yet the city puts a burden of animal control duties on these officers who probably don't have any training. They don't have any training on recognizing what rabies is. They probably don't have any training on how to capture animals. So I think that the plaintiff's going to argue that because there's a lack of training, this incident happened. All right, guys, let me just go through the comments real quick. Whenever Farley says he could have called animal control, he could have called someone else to look at the situation. No, I totally agree. He could have called for animal control, but you have to realize that this is a town of 900. There's towns where there's no animal control at all. None. Okay? So the question of why doesn't he just call animal control? The answer is it's a small department that probably doesn't have those types of resources. But I agree. Somebody says, if you're law enforcement, shouldn't you know better than to drive while distracted? It's a hands-free device. Let's see. All right, guys, so that's all I got. Looking forward to your comments in the regular comment section box below. Do you believe that the shooting of this dog was justified? What could we have done better? Okay, what could we have done better to resolve a situation like this? All right, guys, take care.